Can I just say I'm probably not eating dinner until 11 p.m. tonight because I decided to film this video on a work night instead of on the weekend when I was completely free and had no other plans because procrastination. Hey world, it is Paige. Please ignore the fuzzy hair. It's been a while. I am finally ready to sit down and film my recommendations video for the readEHthon. This is happening in a couple weeks now, I think 2 weeks. So hello from editing Paige 2 weeks in the future, because I thought I had my life together back then and then work got busy. So yeah, this video is not going up when I past me thought it was going up. So you'll see me in this video probably back and forth coming in because so many things have changed in the past 2 weeks. Yeah. Oh, that's my grocery delivery. So yeah, if this goes up when I think it's gonna go up, which is Sunday instead of Saturday when I'm editing it right now, the readathon starts tomorrow. But all of these books are pretty much available in ebook and audiobook format, so you still can read anything that I suggest here. You can also rent them from the library, probably. I feel like most of them would be available. Anyway, go back to past Paige, who really thought she had her life together, and I have to go pick up my groceries now. A couple of the books I don't have on me. I still have to order them, but I think I'm going to do ebook because I quite frankly have too many physical books. And I've been reading a lot more ebooks and audiobooks anyway. Yeah, let's just jump into it because I spent an hour and a half doing my research and writing down the books that really spoke to me. And so we're going to be here for a while, settle in, get a cup of tea or coffee depending on time of day and how chaotic you are. If you don't know what the readEHthon is, it's a readathon created by Kayla from Books and Lala, all about celebrating Canadian books and Canadian authors. I made an announcement video which I will link on the screen. There's a bunch of other co-hosts. I'll link some of their videos because I have seen a couple TBRs and stuff that I had to go and watch, but I really wanted not to be influenced by anybody else's TBRs, so I strictly just thought of what books I would probably lean toward, and it's a lot of nonfiction, I'm not gonna lie, and the majority of my list is from BIPOC authors because that's just also how I skew with my reading normally. You want to know how long my recommendations list is? I sent it from my laptop to my phone so that it would just be easier to read, and it showed up as a mini tiny text because you click on it and it becomes a full document. That is how long it turned into. I didn't even know iPhones did that. And also because this list is so long, I am not going to be going into the specifics of what each book is about. I'm just gonna be giving details about why these books are on the list for me, and I will be leaving links to all the Goodreads pages in the description so that you guys can check them out, along with the challenges that they were applicable to. Hello, past Paige here again very quickly, just to say, because I realized while I was editing this video I never said it, but these challenges, on the bingo card, you don't have to do them as part of the readathon. It was just a fun thing because we realized, I think I mentioned this in the announcement, but a lot of people like me are goal oriented when it comes to reading sometimes, especially when it comes to readathons. So these are just to help those people who want to curate their TBR with a little bit of help. Yeah, so take it or leave it. Literally read whatever Canadian shit you want to read during this week. Does not matter how much or how little you read. Just come celebrate Canadian shit with us. Back to this video, which is already entirely too long. Bye. So the first challenge is read a book by an Indigenous author. So I have 5 books for this reading challenge, 4 of them on me. 1 of them isn't out until the end of August, so that is something that I am leaning toward reading for myself because it's published by my publishing house, so I have early access. Thankfully, one of my friends has an ARC that I'm going to borrow. 2 of them are nonfiction and 2 of them are fiction. So the first one is Heartberries by Therese Marie Maya. This is a nonfiction short essay collection. This has always been on my TBR, it's still on my shelf, but my one friend, I usually read this kind of short book on a plane because it's just the right amount for a very long flight to Barbados or LA. My one friend who had already previously read it said it's very emotional and I didn't want to be crying on a plane, even though I've done that since, so it's not gonna stop me now. So this is one of the books I'm leaning toward. The other one is A History of My Brief Body by Billy Ray Belcourt. That comes out at the end of August, and I think my friend has finished reading it, and if she has, I might steal her arc of it, but I'm pretty sure I can just get the manuscript and put it on my iPad, if anything. So the third book, which is one of the fiction books, is Empire of Wild by Cherie Dimaline. This has some fantastical elements to it, which is the same with the other fiction book, which is Eden Robinson's Son of a Trickster, which is currently one of the Canada Reads picks, which is happening this week while I'm filming and hopefully editing and uploading this video. Both of these books have elements of Indigenous folklore, and I definitely think if you are leaning more toward fiction when you're doing this readathon, one of these would probably be a really great pick. This came out in 2017 and also won some Canadian awards. This could check off a lot of challenges actually, both of them could, which I'm going to get into later as they go on. But the final book that I suggest for this challenge is A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott. I read this back in November of last year, I'm pretty sure. Similar to Heartberries and A History of My Brief Body, this is another essay collection about Alicia's experiences being an Indigenous person in Canada. As somebody who is not well versed or knowledgeable in the colonialism that happened here, I have been gravitating more towards these kinds of books so I can educate myself more, which is probably another reason I'll be reading nonfiction for this. I just feel like the older I get, the more I realize how uneducated I am in certain areas, and I really feel the need to correct that. So that's probably why I read so much nonfiction. The second challenge is to read a story about a loving relationship, and I'm going to get the copies of the books that I do have here, but there's a couple from different publishing houses because, like I said, I was trying to be more diverse because I do work at Penguin Random House. A lot of my books are going to be from there just because those are books I have on me and I wanted to be more prepared, but I am buying a couple because it just felt wrong to just read all of our books. Anyway, let me go get these ones. So a loving relationship doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but I think all the books that came to the top of my head that I was interested in ended up being that. The first one is Grown Up Pose by Sonia Lally. This is her second novel, I'm pretty sure. Her first novel was The Matchmaker's List, which I don't have a copy of on me. This one follows a woman who separates from her husband and has to face the pressures of her culture, which that would very much be frowned upon, and she has a daughter and she wants to start her own business. I feel like this at the forefront is going to be a story about a mother and daughter because it talks about her wanting to become the kind of woman she'd be proud of her daughter following in her footsteps. I love a good mother-daughter relationship, so I'm really leaning toward this one. I also have here a more serious fiction book, more literary, TLM's An Ocean of Minutes. Involves time travel for all of you people who are interested in time travel, but I will warn you, this does have a flu in it. The love of this girl's life is really ill from the flu, and in order to save him, she signs up to work for this organization that has time travel involved, so she gives up a certain amount of her life to work for this organization so that she can get the cure for him, and they agree to meet at this certain time in the future. But then instead of meeting at that set time, she is actually set another 5 years forward from when they agree to meet, and she can't find him. I don't think I will be reading this one because that sounds traumatic. People who like About Time and The Time Traveler's Wife and those kinds of stories, I feel like this will be right up your alley and you should check it out. The third book that I have a physical copy of with me here is Love from A to Z by S.K. Alley. I spoke about this one briefly in my books I bought while I was high video. I feel like for YA books I could generally get through them a lot faster. This is from the diary entries of two kids who have donated their diary, and that just sounds really cute and sort of To All the Boys I've Loved Before-esque, which I'm here for. So the first book on the list that I have that I don't have a physical copy of that I might buy is Aisha at Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. This book is also YA, and it is Pride and Prejudice with a modern twist. And if you are new to this channel, hello, I am obsessed with Pride and Prejudice. My dog is named Darcy. That is probably gonna be the winner here, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I read Pride and Prejudice as a comp, I was like, okay, this is it for me. I'm sold. I'm trash. That and anything King Arthur, I am literal trash for those things. And the final book on this list is another one that I've seen Sajid talk about before. That is The Love and Lies of Rukhsana Ali by Sabina Khan. This one is a sapphic love story that was just a great knocked you off at the same time because you can use the same book for multiple challenges. I've been filming for half an hour. I need to go faster. So next up is a book by a Canadian publisher. So I have a couple here. Some of them are from Maness and Strangelight, which I do work for, but some of them I made sure were not, and those are the ones I'm probably going to end up reading. There's one from Strangelight that I have been wanting to read since I heard about it at our launch presentation meeting about it. It all depends on if one of these other ones comes in, because if they do come in, I'm ordering them both. If one of them comes in before, I'll probably end up reading this. So the one from Strangelight, which is an imprint at Penguin Random House Canada that launched about a year ago now by the editors of Hazlitt, which is a Canadian magazine, is Little Scratch by Rebecca Watson. Strangelight is just really well known for very explorative and interesting forms of what it is to write a novel. The writing style is very different, and that's what interested me in this. The second book is one that I've been meaning to read for such a long time, and it is The Subtweet by Vivek Shraya. I'm recommending her short essay collection for another challenge, but basically just read anything she writes for any of these challenges. You will not be disappointed. And that one is published by ECW, which is a smaller press here in Toronto. Next up, the one that I am very excited for, if there was a challenge for a stunning cover, I would have nominated this one at the very top of the list, but it is Shut Up You're Pretty by Thea Mutonji. This is also applicable for the award category of our challenge bingo card, and this also works for another challenge later on, which is a debut author, because this is her debut book. This is a short story collection, so it also works for anything but a novel. Basically, you should also be reading this book, is what I'm saying. And that is published by Arsenal Pulp, which is also a small indie here in Toronto. The other three that I will be recommending for this bingo card challenge are all from M&S, which is McClellan and Stewart, which was a previously independent publisher, which has been brought into the Penguin Random House fold. The first book is Older Sister, Not Necessarily Related. I have a copy. Cannot tell you where it is. It's somewhere in this house. And the other non-fiction book on this list that I have recommended is I've Been Meaning to Tell You by David Cherryandi. This is his open letter to his daughter, and his other book, Brother, which is a fiction book, is set in the 90s in Toronto, and it follows two brothers whose mother is Trinidadian. David Cherryandi is also another author where I would just say read anything he writes because I'm obsessed with him. It's fine. Nature on the cover. I'm surprised that I don't have as many books as I thought I did. I'm just gonna grab these ones. Some of them I've already mentioned. Son of a Trickster, you might have noticed, has Forest on the cover, and so does Empire of Wild. Empire of Wild also has a forest on the cover, so both of those would work. And also Alicia Elliott, which is just one of the books you should be reading, has a bunch of leaves on the cover, which is nature. But I also have two more books that I'm gonna go grab. One of them is a YA novel, Beauty of the Moment by Tanaz Bathna, and the other is Birds Art Life by Keo McClear. This one I have previously read. It is a exploration of... So this is editing page from a different day. I just wanted to pop in to say, because I had a struggle for this section of the video when I was trying to describe what Birds Art Life was about, but it's where creativity meets grief. It deals with, I'm pretty sure, like loss of somebody close to the person. So if that's something that you're trying to avoid because it's triggering, I would probably avoid this book. But if that does not trigger you and you want to read a book about creativity that's sort of like big magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, I would recommend this one. Back to the video. And she just has this beautiful way of writing, and it's just so calming, and it really captures the feeling of being in nature, as weird as that is to say, so I would really recommend that one. Set in a province that you haven't been to. So like I mentioned in my announcement video, I haven't been to basically everywhere in Canada. I'm not well traveled in Canada, I will admit, which might change because it'll be the only place I can travel for the next couple of years. Two of the places that I decided to focus on are BC and PEI, in part because somebody actually left a comment on my announcement video that was very helpful and reminded me that it's been a minute since I've read Anne of Green Gables. I was basically just a child, so I don't remember it, and I feel like that would be such the quintessential Canadian book to read. Another one that I'm going to recommend that I have already read, which therefore means I'm not going to be using for when I actually do my reading, is The Glass of Hell by Emily St. John Mandel. Primarily set in BC. It does move to New York in some areas of the book, but it's about people from Canada who go there, so I think it counts. This was a 4 to 5 star for me. I really enjoyed it. I love her writing style. It is more a character heavy rather than plot heavy, so if you don't like those kinds of books, you might not like this one, but if you really love character studies, pick this up. Seriously, it was so good. I am really leaning toward Anne of Green Gables, but if it's not going to be that book, it probably will end up being Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Malin Tien. I don't know if it moves outside of Vancouver, but it is about a family who lives in Vancouver to begin with, so that's been on my list for so long, like from back when I first started my channel. For Black Canadian history, there is one book that if I do this challenge I really want to read, and it's been like at the top of my list for a minute, is Policing Black Lives by Robin Maynard. This is about police brutality in Canada, and I feel like I need to educate myself more on this. I know so much about the American history because it's been at the forefront of so many conversations that we've been having online, but not a lot of people are talking about the Canadian side of things, and I feel like I personally just need to educate myself more on that. I'm just gonna put in an order for this one as well. Sorry to my credit card. For a debut author, there are quite a few that I have, and I'm going to be recommending them for also other other challenges, which I feel like I keep saying that, but like obviously like there's just so much like crossover for everything that I'm choosing. So 2 of these books I'm going to be recommending in other sections as well, so I will give a little bit of a spiel about them. The first one is The Skin We're In, A Year of Black Resistance and Power by Desmond Cole. 2 of the debuts are by journalists. So the second one is They Said This Would Be Fun by Serenity Martis. Both of these are nonfiction books. Are we surprised? No, we're not. But The Skin We're In follows Desmond in 2017, and it's just an exploration of blackness in 2017 in Toronto. And They Said This Would Be Fun is about Atarity's experience being a one of the only black students at a university here called the University of Western Ontario, which is in London, Ontario, where I went to high school. And let me say some of the stuff, it hit hard. That was a book that actually I read as a manuscript, as a submission when I was an intern. So I was even more excited when it got bought and published. I fangirled when I first saw like the physical copy when it came into the office. The third book I have on this list is one that is also part of the Canada Reads happening this week, and that is Small Game Hunting at the Local Coward Gun Club by Megan Gale Cole. The next challenge, an LGBTQIA or queer story. I've decided to do book in general, nonfiction, because the one book that I said, The Love and Lies, that would be recommended for like a fiction pick, but for nonfiction picks, because as I said, that is what I tend to read, I have 2 books here with me and one that I might order. So the first one is one that I have read, and I mentioned this author previously in this video, but it is I'm Afraid of Men by Vivek Shaya. This is all about Vivek's experience being a trans woman in Toronto, but also just in the world in general, and this, you need to read it. It's so short. It's literally essential reading, especially with everything that is happening right now. And also, this one I have not read yet, but this is part of Canada Reads. We Have Always Been Here by Samra Habib. I'm really excited to get to this one. I've been meaning to read it all year. Like I said, where's the time, especially when you work in publishing and you like just collect all of these books. The third one that I have that I recently discovered, aka when I was doing my research, was Queer Returns by Ronaldo Walcott. This is an exploration, it's also nonfiction, about queerness and blackness and where that intersects, especially here. So sorry for my bank account, but I'm so excited for all of these books. For anti-racism literature, some of the books that I have just previously mentioned would fall under this, namely They Said This Would Be Fun and The Skin We're In, but also Alicia Elliott's A Mind Spread Out on the Ground really does focus on colonialism, so I would recommend that for this. One book I don't have a copy of is Black Writers Matter, which is a collection created by Whitney French, who is one of the few black editors in Canada, who has recently also started their own publishing house, which I will leave the details for below. I was very excited when that was announced a couple weeks ago. Also, I've been speaking about David Tariandi and I didn't go to get his books, which is quite frankly offensive on my part, but one of the books you could read is I've been meaning to tell you, which is his open letter to his daughter. This book made me cry so much on the plane. And this last book I actually forgot, one of the co-founders of BIPOC of Publishing gave me, Seven Fallen Feathers by Tanya Talaga, and this actually explores racism, deaths, and the hard truths in a northern city. And my friend raved about this book, and I really trust her opinions, especially about this kind of nonfiction. So this is definitely at the top of my TBR. So for children's books, we have Anne of Green Gables, because it is a children's middle grade book, but I also wanted to recommend Teddy Bear of the Year, which is a really cute picture book by one of my coworkers, actually, Vicky Van Sickle. She's done a couple readings online, so you might be able to actually just find a video of it, and she does like these cute teddy bear picnics with kids. When you think of Canadian kidlit, like I think of Vicky. And also a book that I thought I had a copy of, but it disappeared somewhere in my house, as a lot of my books do, is A Royal Guide to Monster Slaying by Kelly Armstrong, and I felt like it would be remiss if I did not put a Kelly Armstrong book on this list of recommendations, because she was one of the first Canadian authors that I actually read when I first moved here. Set in a province or territory that you have been to. I have been to here, Ontario, where I live, and Quebec, Montreal specifically. And so I have a bunch of recommendations of books that I have read. I did not bring this one up when I first mentioned it, but Brother by David Tariandi is set in Toronto, in one of the GTA cities actually. Also, What We All Long For by Dion Brand is a little bit too far for me to pick up, but that one is also set in Toronto, and Dion Brand is a fantastic author that I would recommend everybody read. She's also of Trinidadian descent, I'm pretty sure. A lot of the authors on this list do have some Caribbean descent in them, namely Ian Williams for Reproduction, which is also set in Toronto. There is a theme here. And finally, this one is the one I'm leaning toward, because I did say in my, I think, I said in my announcement video, or I might have cut it out, but I said I might want to read something set in Montreal because I was supposed to go to Oshiega and coronavirus happened. But The Lonely Hearts to Tell by Heather O'Neill, I remember seeing this book around a lot when it first came out, and it's partially set in New York, but it is also partially set in Montreal, and I'm gonna say that counts. One of the comps was The Night Circus, which it was published in 2017. I found that kind of weird, but also I like The Night Circus, so we'll see how that one goes. I think that one's probably what I'm going to pick up. For an immigrant or refugee story, I would recommend Brother by David Terry-Andy, or I've been meaning to tell you, because both of those do deal with some elements of immigration, specifically in Canada and in the Caribbean community, which is actually pretty big here in Toronto. The way I just said Toronto was very not neural. There is a book that I've been meaning to read personally for a minute, and that is Shame on Me by Tessa McQuat, and it is about race and belonging because she is a mixed race person, and I thought that was really interesting because I don't think I've read any nonfiction apart from Mary Jacobs's Good Talk, which is up there somewhere, which is more about a mother talking to her biracial kid. And the one that I discovered that I don't have a copy of but that I will pick up eventually, even if it's not for this, is Remembering by Austin Clarke, which is about being a Barbadian immigrant specifically in Canada, which hello, nice to meet you. That's what I am, basically. For a Canadian Book Award nominee, I went a little ham. Shut Up You're Pretty, which I previously have mentioned, won the Trillium Book Award. A Reproduction by Ian Williams, which I also mentioned previously and just didn't pick up for some reason because my brain is no longer working this late at night. Won the Scotiabank Giller Prize last year, which was 2019 for people who don't remember what year we're in anymore like me. An Ocean of Minutes, which I mentioned, won the Giller Prize in 2018. Son of a Trickster, which I also mentioned, won the 2017 Giller Prize. I just like went back in all of the lists and saw which books like I remembered. Older Sister Not Necessarily Related, which I mentioned previously, won the Hilary Weston Writers' Trust Award for Nonfiction last year. And A Mind Spread Out on the Ground, which is my eternal fave, was a finalist for that same award. Hello, I Want to Die, Please Fix Me, which I do have a copy of, is a book about depression and mental health. So if you are interested in those topics, this is a great nonfiction book about that. And this was also a finalist for the same award that Older Sister won. So read on the cover, the two books that really stood out to me that I will not find under this pile that I've put beside me are A Mind Spread Out on the Ground, because that entire cover is red, but also They Said This Would Be Fun has red solo cups on it, and that is just very quintessential to college experience. So those two are the ones I put down for read on the cover for recommendations. A book by a Black author is basically just going back through books which I've previously already spoken about in this video, because a lot of my authors, like I said, are BIPOC, but like The Skin We're In, They Said This Would Be Fun, Shut Up You're Pretty, Policing Black Lives, anything by Dion Brand, just read Dion Brand, and Reproduction by Ian Williams. He is also a Black author. Something that is not a novel. That is the final challenge, and again, basically a lot of the things that I've already spoken about are not novels because I read outside of novels a lot more. But one that I am probably going to read for this challenge, because I think I mentioned in my other video that I do like reading a couple poetry collections per year. Poetry is not my strongest genre, I will admit. Like, I feel really dumb sometimes when I read certain poetry because my brain just does not work that way. As much of a shame as it is, my friend Eamon, maybe I'll ask my friend who gave me the Seven Feathers book what poetry collection she would recommend, because she does read a lot of poetry. So TBD, because there might end up being another book that's not mentioned here, because I'm gonna ask her for recommendations after this is done. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but the one that's on the top of my list, because look at this fucking cotton candy cover, is What Hurts Going Down by Nancy Lee, and this deals with sexual assault, which is a heavier read, but it just looks like the kind of poetry that I can connect with, because there's a very specific style of writing that my brain can function with, because I am just dumb when it comes to poetry, even though I'm trying not to be. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go through this entire list again. But The Skin We're In, They Said This Would Be Fun, Older Sister Not Necessarily Related, A Mind Spread Out on the Ground, Hello, I Want to Die, Please Fix Me, Heartberries, A History of My Brief Body, I've Been Meaning to Tell You, Policing Black Lives, Remembering, Shame on Me, Birds Art Life, and also one more. We're gonna end with a new book, and that is The Measure of My Powers by Jackie Kai Ellis. And this has been on my list for such a long time. There's apparently a really good chocolate chip cookie recipe in this book, and there are beautiful photos, and it's an appetite book, which is another Canadian imprint you can look into. They mostly do cookbooks, but they do some cookbook memoirs like this one that you could probably read for your read a book by Canadian imprint. Also, something that is not a novel that is published by a Canadian imprint are cookbooks. That could be a whole video in itself because Canadian food, like the Canadian food industry is, I barely scratched the surface when I was a social media coordinator for Appetite, but that is like a whole other thing that I might eventually get into, but I don't have a pretty kitchen, so filming those videos would be hard. Anyway, it's been a full hour of me sitting here telling you guys what to read, so good luck to editing Paige for having to parse through all of this and all of the pauses where I try to find books. You guys should let me know what you guys are planning to read. Maybe that will impact my TBR. I still don't know like for sure what I'm reading. I just know it'll be some of these books. But I will see you guys in my next video whenever that happens. I will see you when I see you. Until then, stay inside, stay safe, wash your hands, wear masks, you know, like the drill by this point. And I will see you guys later. Bye.